Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be comparing the Tier 10 Soviet Collector Heavy Tank, the Object 777 version 2, to the Chinese Tier 10 Tech Tree Heavy, the WZ-113. These vehicles may not look very similar, but I can tell you for a fact that they are incredibly similar on mobility, guns, and overall playstyle. In today's video, I figured it'd be a very close comparison to see the differences and similarities overall with these two tanks. So let's start off with the 777 version 2. Take a look at the gun, the mobility, and see how it compares to the 113. Overall, on the gun, we can see it features a 3.2 second aiming time, 0.344 dispersion, and 2,900 damage per minute. Now, I am personally running calibrated shells. You can get up to about 3,100 if you're running rammer, but I like to have that 374 heat pen to get the job done. This vehicle features 430 damage per shot, which is actually quite a beefy alpha. Overall, the gun on this tank is nice. It's got many strengths going for it, but I'll be real. If you compare the gun of the 777 to the Chinese 113, it is definitely just worse. I mean, yeah, it's got a bit more pen, but it's not that much more. You still get 369 millimeters on the WZ-113, which is only about a 5 millimeter difference. And the DPM with Cali is about 300 more. Yeah, you heard that right. 300 more damage per minute. So, yeah, so far the 113 gun has better DPM. Also, I should point out it has better dispersion by as well, about 10%. Truly, only the aiming time that's slightly worse. But, yeah, when it comes to the overall gun, alpha is very similar. Gun depression's the same. It's just kind of a flat, better gun that the 113 features. So let's take a look at the mobility that the Object 777 carries. It features a pretty solid top speed of 45 and a pretty awful reverse of 12, with a base power to weight of 16.4 and a traverse speed of 30.42 degrees a second. If we take a look at the 113, it features the same top speed of 45, but a much better reverse speed of 15, while also featuring a much better traverse speed of 40 degrees a second, and I should also point out having almost the exact same power to weight of 16.1. So far, what we've noticed comparing both of these tanks is that the 113, at least on base stats, is kind of just better than the Object 777. Not only does the gun have more damage per minute, not only does this tank reverse faster, but it's also got about 30% better traverse speed, which is absolutely massive when you're going to be using these tanks, especially dealing with anything that is mobile. So the most important thing that a lot of you might bring up is the armor profile. So let's make our way over to Armor Inspector. Starting off with the 113, we can see the vehicle's got some good armor, but it's also got some big weaknesses. First of all, we have the lower plate. This lower plate is only about 160 millimeters thick, and yeah, everything's going to penetrate through this. If you see the lower plate on the 113 and you hit it, you're essentially guaranteeing a penetration. And upper plate-wise is also basically the same. We can see the upper plate on flat is about 274. That means if you load high penetration heat, anything above 330 millimeters is going to easily cut through that upper plate. Even if you're running calibrated shells, it does go up to about 350, but it's still not going to change the fact that anything like the Object 777 with at least Cali is going to cut directly through the upper plate. Now, if you're not running calibrated shells, yeah, you're actually going to struggle to cut through it, but yeah, that's kind of how it works when it comes to the 113. Now, if you angle the tank, you can get some bounces on that upper plate, as you can see, but overall, really the best bet you're going to have is using your gun depression. Only with 6 degrees of gun depression, the 113's entire upper plate becomes a non-penetration, which actually causes the tank to be quite strong haul down. And even though the turret cheeks are quite big, they're still very troll to penetrate due to the fact that if you miss them, it's over 500 millimeters thick. So the 113's armor, while not incredible, is pretty dang strong. And as you can see against standard ammo, the turret cheeks are incredibly strong, even at the weakest being around 270 millimeters thick. It does have hatches, but as you'll notice, the hatches are actually quite decent. Even against heat shells, those hatches are going to be quite troll to penetrate, and if you're using gun depression, you can barely see them. So overall, the 113's armor is not great. Like, I would never ever trust this tank's armor in a frontline position against a decent player. But at the same time, it is good enough to get the occasional bounce. The turret is very strong, and the most impressive thing about the 113 is actually its side armor. Because the 113 doesn't have spaced armor, it's very good at side scraping due to the fact that it's just a flat, solid pane of armor. So you can see here, if you put the tank in a side scrape, the vehicle is incredibly hard to penetrate. Look how much I can over-angle this tank. This is about a 20-degree angle, and the vehicle sides are still incredibly hard to penetrate. It really takes till about a 30-degree angle to make this vehicle super easy to pen on the sides. So I actually really like the 113, especially for side scraping capabilities. And because of the way the turret's mounted, and it's kind of a mid-mounted tank, it allows you to poke corners very easily and shoot at your opponents without even showcasing your lower plate. So overall, the 113's armor is very niche, but it's also very workable if you understand how to use it. Side scraping wise, it is incredibly powerful. If we move on to the Object 777, we can see that the vehicle's got some weak spots just like the 113. First of all, a big lower plate. Honestly, the lower plates are about the same size. There's a lot of people that try to say like the 777's lower plate is smaller. It's really not. You can see that. And the lower plate on the bottom part is only about 140. It's one of the weakest lower plates you'll find in tier 10. The mid plate on the vehicle is about 258. If you're running Kali, it can be a bit troll to pen, but I mean, you can just load heat if you're really that uncertain, and you'll guarantee the pen every single time. Side scraping wise, we can see the 777. Once you turn the tank, it does become somewhat weak. Now, this is up against APCR shells, so if we made this a more fair comparison against AP, we can see that, yeah, like as soon as you get the tank to about a 20 degree angle, just like the 113, the sides start to become penetrable. Now, where I suggest to shoot at the sides is a very simple way of knowing. If we go over to Blitz, we can very quickly take a look at the 777, and you can very easily see where the lower plate meshes with the upper plate. If you follow where it meshes, and in fact I can show my mouse cursor here, if you follow just the center bar here and you go all the way to the side like this, this is where the weak spot on the Object 777 is, right on the edge of the track row. The main reason a lot of people do end up bouncing the 777 in a side scrape is due to this angled bit of armor on the side lower half. We can see the angles when we take a look underneath the vehicle. It's very similar to the IS-7's design, where if we actually take a look at the IS-7, you can see it's angled just the same way. If you shoot at this angled bit, you're going to bounce every time. You have to shoot directly at the mid or in the front track wheel. And that is exactly the case for the 777. If you shoot the front track wheel, as we can see, you will pen right through it. And if you shoot the upper non-angled bit, you will also pen through the tank. If you shoot the angled bit, then you're going to bounce. It's very simple. So make sure when aiming at this tank, you just know where you're shooting. After that, it's a pretty easy pen every time. If you shoot through the front track wheel, the thing's only 140 thick. You'll not only break the track, but you'll penetrate the tank. And if you shoot up here, it's also very, very easy to cut through the vehicle almost every single time. And once the vehicle does overangle, then you can start to penetrate through the sides, because as you can see, they're not like IS-7 sides where they're super troll even at a flat angle. This tank doesn't have a heck of a lot of spaced armor. It's pretty easy to pen overall on the sides. So yeah, it's not that hard of a tank to penetrate in a side scraping position. We can see frontally, if we take a look at the turret, just like the 113, it's got cheek weak spots, and they're actually quite a bit weaker. The 113s, as we said, are about 270 to 280 thick, which means AP shells cannot pen them. With this tank, even running enhanced armor, you still have a chance of cutting through those cheeks on the turret. So yeah, it definitely has some weak spots there. The roof also has some big ol' hatches, only about 160 thick and 180. And if you're actually loading heat, even with only 330 heat like the 5A's carrying with Kali, you can easily cut through the roof of the 777 on the left and the right. I have done this many times myself fighting the tank. It is a massive weak spot. Driving this tank on flat ground is incredibly easy to penetrate, puncture, and quite easily deal with. It's really only when it starts to use gun depression it becomes a bit harder, just because of the fact those turret weak spots do go away. But you'll still notice the hatch does still exist. It's only 160 thick. You've got two hatches to shoot at, and you've also got the turret cheeks still to shoot at, which are only about 272. If you hit the turret cheeks, it will be a guaranteed pen every single time. And if you're not using your full to gun depression, and you even slightly are only using like 5 or 4 degrees, then once again, those turret weak spots become a problem. So overall, the 777's armor is good, but it's not great. It's just like the 113. It has its fair share of weaknesses, and I wouldn't really say that it's just flat better. It's a lot harder because of the fact it's troll. So if I were to rate the armor values in these tanks out of 10, I would say the 777 is a solid 7 out of 10 on armor, and the 113 is a 6 out of 10. Let's get this party started and actually get into some gameplay comparing these two tanks to see how they actually perform on the battlefield. Now, I really like both of these vehicles. I think the 777 is super strong in its own rights, and so is the 113. Personally, I think I enjoy the 113 more, even if it wasn't a better tank, just due to the fact that it is such a more mobile tank. Mobility is so important in any situation, whether you're playing a competitive scene or you're playing a normal scene, and because of that, you have to be very cautious. So let's see what we can do here. Our team wants to go towards base A, which is honestly fine with me. On a map like Himmelsdorf, this is a pretty solid situation to drive a vehicle like the 777 due to the fact that it is able to reach, as we can see, a top speed upwards of 45. So that's fine with me. Let's see. We got the YAG crossing. Maybe we can get a shell into the side. No, unfortunate. Alright, well, let's keep on going. That wasn't too bad anyway. So the YAG appears to be kind of in the open. Our Sheridan's chilling, and well, let's see if we can get a shell maybe into the YAG. Oh, looks like he's over-angling his sides a bit. Maybe we can get a shell right through the barrels. Yes, look at that. Nice bounce right on the turret. Now, that was pretty expected, because I don't think there was much that YAG could actually see of me. I'm going to cut off towards this side over here. You can see that pretty poor traverse speed on this tank there. But let's see. We got the Batchat in the back. We got the Object 268. Okay, well, let's see if I can get past the Sheridan. And, alright, well, let's just go for a pen into the 268. Dude's not looking at me, so I'll get a pretty easy pen right into his tank. And let's get into a side scrape here. This is where I said this tank is pretty decent, so if you go up against a side scrape, there you go. Unfortunately, my shell did not go where I wanted it to, but that's fine. We're still doing okay in this situation. The enemy team's getting quite bled out. The YAG does shoot, and he's dead, which is pretty dang solid. So let's see what we can do here. We got the Object 268 off to the side. I'm gonna, oh, there you go. I'm gonna bait a shell from him, get a nice pen in myself. Just like that, we've done a decent chunk of damage, about 1,200, and the game is still making its way on. Alright, our E100 is complaining that he had 0 health, which is kind of weird, judging that our team did call to not go toward that side of the map. Got the IS-4 off to the side, and yeah, there you go. Nice pen right into the IS-4's turret. You can see where that nice heat penetration is able to cut through a lot of strong armor. Doesn't matter how much armor you have, 374 heat can make quick work of it. So we got the 4005 off to the side. We got the 50B off to the side. I'm going to aim it on the 4005, but looks like he's actually not allowing me to hit him, but that's fine, because we'll get a very easy clear into the enemy AMX 50B. Just like that, the enemy team only has 3 vehicles left. We got, or 4 vehicles left, sorry. We got the Batchat, we got the IS-4, we got the 4005. We're going to start off by making my way over towards the 4005. I don't really care as much about the Batchat. I feel like clearing this tank is a very, very important virtue, so there you go. Got behind the 4005 and got a very easy clear. Now we got the IS-7 off to the side, and you can see where this very, very solid DPM allows me to get a super easy penetration and easy roll into that IS-7. So let's see, IS-7 is showing me his sides once again. Another easy pen right into his tank, and just like that, we're over 3,000 damage. You can see where the DPM on this tank feels very, very solid. Now, unfortunately, my IS-4 was blocking me a bit there, but that's fine. We were still able to cut right through the teammate, or right through the enemy, and get a nice pen out. So let's aim in on the IS-7, get a very easy heat pen in for 460. IS-7 gets a bounce. Just like that, we should be able to out-reload the rest of our team and get another easy pen right in. A bonk. There you have it. And just like that, a pretty solid game for the Object 777. I can't really say that the mobility or anything really caused a downside or upside in this battle. It was more the fact that we had a very solid gun able to farm our opponents. So if we put the same situation in the hands of a 113, we probably could have done better just because it has more DPM. But overall, still a fine job. Blocked 2350 due to side scraping and dealt 4,075 damage. Not a bad result at all, and finishing top on the team. Now let's go to the 113 and see how this vehicle can perform in any given situation. Now the thing with the 113 and 777 is they do rely on the type of map you get on. For example, if you get thrown on dead rail or mines with these types of tanks, it's going to be a lot harder to work the ridgeline because you don't have gun depression, so you got to be careful. Now, on a map like Oasis Palms, it's not the end of the world for a vehicle like this. So we're going to start off by making our way over towards Seaside, and I'm going to try and convey to my team that I want to go to C. We'll find out, but hopefully they do end up going towards Seaside. Seaside. All right, let's see what we can do here. Now, I want you to look at the increased mobility of the 113. Being able to turn so much faster is just so dang nice. Well, never mind. I swear every time I tell a team to go one way, it does not matter. Like, there's always people in live stream like, oh, you complain about the teams, but you never try to guide them. Every time I try to tell a team where to go, I get screwed and they never go that way. I even waited for the battle to start, that way everybody was ready. Still doesn't do anything. But, oh well. We can see the increased mobility of the 113. Not only does this vehicle have a better terrain resistance value, which allows the tank to achieve a better top speed on most terrain, but just in general, the 113's mobility is a lot better than the counterpart being the 777. So we got the IS-7 off to the side, and unfortunately that shell just was not able to cut through the armor in the way I wanted it to. The enemy 4005, or our 4005, is already dead. Incredible. Not sure why that player went alone there, but just like that, we are already down a tank. Alright, well, there's not much we're really able to do in this current situation, if I'll be completely honest. We got the 50 TP showing me his lower plate, and there you go. Nice pen into his lower plate, I'll take it. Just like that, we're down 2 tanks. Well, I can't really say much about the 113 in this situation when our team is already dead. But you can see we're holding pretty well here. We're getting pens out. We've already done about 800 damage, which is not too bad at all. We got the 50 TP showing me the roof of his tank, and just like that, we were able to cut directly through his vehicle. So, we're doing a decent job holding. We're getting our pens out. We've already dealt 1,100 damage, and again, we're just going to chill right here, aiming on the IS-7. Oh, he's not allowing me to see his turret cheek. There you go, and look at that. Nice pen right into the IS-7's turret cheek. So just like that, we've been able to cut pretty decent chunks and holes into our opponents. The 50 TP, sorry about that, my hand actually slipped. I should have penned that shell. But what I was going to say is 50 TP is over-angling his tank, allowing me to pen it, but not actually the case in this situation here. Alright, let's go for another hat shot. Unfortunately, not able to cut through. My T-30 just drives over the ridge and does kill himself. So, in this current position, our team is not doing all too good. Got the 100 off to the side, who I'm just going to slam a shell into because I can, and we're going to get a nice bounce from the enemy 50 TP. At this point in time, we're going to push this player and see if we can use our superior DPM to finish him off. This is where being in a vehicle like the 113 with the fantastic DPM it features is great. Now, unfortunately, it looks like my gun kind of trolled me there, and it hit the track wheel, but that's fine. We're going to pen this shot very easily. You can see where the great DPM on this tank just cuts through opponents with no problem whatsoever. We're going to aim in on the 50 TP here. There you go. Another nice, easy penetration. And just like that, we're over 3,000 damage at this point. We're going to aim in on the 50 TP once again, and we're going to get a very, very easy penetration directly into his vehicle. At this point, now we've got the IS-7 on our vehicle. Now, I'm going to wedge my tank down in a way that we can pen this IS-7 every single time. I mean, we're in a 1 versus 6 situation, so it really doesn't matter how skilled you are at the game. When you're in a game like this, you're going to lose one way or another. But we've dealt a pretty solid chunk here. I definitely can say that. We actually got a nice bounce from the enemy there, but didn't really matter. I can't really say anything mattered this battle. I definitely could have done a bit more if I had been able to penetrate that one shell on the 50 TP when he showed me his lower plate, and the other was that weird bounce on his side. But hey, 3,440 blocked, 4,100 damage dealt. Basically the exact same result as the Object 777. Overall, I think that both of these tanks are incredibly comparable, and if you don't own the 7, I honestly think the 113 is a better choice for a lot of situations. As you saw in this battle, the armor itself worked just as well, not only on the turret, but I also got some bounces on the hull. And when you take a look at the 113's overall mobility, it's just flat better. On traverse speed, on reverse speed, it's just better than the 777. The gun is flat better than the 777. While I do like this vehicle, and I think it looks really cool, and it's got a lot of unique attributes, personally, I just think the 113 is a better tank. I really have to. The 113 is not only the top performer on Blitzstar stats for Tier 10, but it is also the top performer for 65%ers in the game. Really, anybody that understands how to play this tank is going to do immensely well, and that's kind of how I stand with the 113. It's just a more flexible tank due to the mobility, and it's got a better gun, which, as I said, has about 300 more damage per minute. So when you add those two values together, it just creates a better tank in my opinion. But hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.